Hey guys, it's Hannah and I'm here today with my October wrap-up. So I had an amazing reading month and I've got so many books to show you, so I'm going to try to keep this real short because we have a lot to get through. So let's get it on to the video. So the first books that I read in October was Goblet of Fire. We were listening to this on audiobook. We're doing our annual rereads. And of course 5 out of 5 stars, it's Harry Potter. I'm not going to go in too much of this, but 5 out of 5 stars. We also did Order of the Phoenix, 5 out of 5 stars for this one as well. We're almost done, but it is a few days before the end of the month, so I'm sure we will finish this one 5 out of 5 stars, even though Umbridge bugs the hell out of me. Next up in the month of October, I finished First Frost by Sarah Addison Allen. This is the second book in the Garden Spells duology. I have a full review I will link down below, and this is one of my all-time favorite books. I just adore them. If you like magical realism, I highly recommend checking out Sarah Addison Allen, especially these two books, Garden Spells and First Frost, I think are her best works. So go check it out if you like magical realism. Next up, I listened to an audiobook. I have recently renewed my library card, and that has been like amazing for my reading progress because I've just been like on audiobook binges. As soon as I finish one, I pick up another one. So I have been like loving that. So I picked up Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. I wasn't a big reader in middle school, so I'm kind of going back and learning people's favorites and kind of revisiting them, which is interesting because obviously I'm not the target demographic. This one is a really cute story. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. If you guys don't know, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library is about a group of 12-year-olds writing these essays of why they're excited for this new library to be installed, and whoever like wins, they get to see the library first before it opens, and they have like an overnighter in the library, but then it turns into a game, and it's really fun and fast-paced. The plot was really interesting. The only reason why I docked it to a 4 instead of a 5 is because the characters are really flat, and I did take a little bit easy on the grading curve because I know that I'm not the target demographic, but it's a really fun, diverse cast of characters, and it was fun. Plus it's about the library, and it's like teaching kids to show them what's awesome about like the library and how fun reading is and discovering new things. So I rated that a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I picked up Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. This I rated a 3 out of 5 stars, and I also did a full review on my channel. I will also leave that one down below. The main reasons why I give it a 3 out of 5 stars is because this is a very sad novel. It's very dark. There's not a lot of like highs and lows, so it just kind of like felt like I was like dragging myself through the story. Also, I wasn't a real fan of the way that the novel is set up because if you guys can see, there isn't actually any chapters. It's all just separated by these things, and the plot kind of jumps around, so it's not like a real novel. It feels like you're reading memories. I kept going back and forth between being in the eyesight of the characters and then being told a memory, and I felt like that was a bit confusing to read back and forth from of am I actually in the story, or are we looking back? So that is 2 of the main reasons why I docked this one. Next up, I picked up on audiobook from my library, City of Bones. Now I have reread, this is technically a reread for me because I have read I think the first 2 or 3, I don't even know how far I originally got in my reads of these, but I wasn't a big fan of them, and so I have all of the books, and it's like I need to like just get through it and see if I like what I really think about it. So I listened to it on audiobook again, and I really enjoyed it. I know people like aren't crazy about the audiobook, but because I haven't gone through this series a first time, I'm just experiencing them with the audiobook. I really personally like it. Jace in the story kind of has an accent, which makes me like him a little more. The only thing that I really dislike is, one, the endings. The ending in this is just awful, and I know that it gets better. Like, I know the spoilers that at the ending isn't really true. Whatever. Still bothers me. It's still, I hate that trope and I just am like, that's so unnecessary. Anyways, I could rant about that for a while. And the drama and the whininess of Clary kind of bothers me. So that's kind of like my big like irritations with this so far. I did rate it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's fast paced. I really enjoyed it this time around. I really am a big advocate for the side characters in almost any series, and I like the side characters. I really like Simon. I really like Isabel. I really like Alec. I don't really care for Clary, but maybe that will change throughout the series. So 4 out of 5 stars for this one, and I do plan on picking up the rest of the series once they eventually become available in audiobook. Next up is another audiobook that I was not expecting to pick up. I just was browsing through my library and I was like, I wanted to do this. So I picked up Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. I'll pop a picture here. This was so fantastic, guys. So it is all about her life as an actress, and then her life going through Gilmore Girls, and then also like her filming the last for the Gilmore Girls A Year in Your Life, or Year in Our Life, whatever. The last 4 episodes on Netflix. Guys, I was not expecting to love this as much as I did, and she reads the audiobook to you. The only thing that I like will dock with the audiobook is that she often references photos, so you kind of, it made me want to have the book with me as I was listening to her read it. So I did still rate this a 5 out of 5 stars, but I will throw that out there. The reason why I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars, and I will be perfectly honest with you, I might have been based off of my nostalgic feelings with this. I grew up with Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls, and just like reliving all of that, just like, oh, I'm not joking. I'm not like a physical reader, if that makes any sense at all, so I don't laugh out loud, I don't cry. Like, I very rarely have a physical reaction as I'm reading it. I'm pretty self-contained. But this, like, audiobook, I was listening to it, like, on my way to work, and so I had it in my car. I was, like, laughing out loud as I was listening to it. I, like, was, like, wanting to tear up because there's, like, the memories. I got goosebumps when she was, like, talking. It just, I don't know if that is from basing it off of the writing or basing it off of, like, nostalgia and feelings and having Lauren Graham read it to me. It was... Go check it out if you like want to listen to an audiobook, especially a non-fiction audiobook. I'm not like a big fan of non-fiction, but this was fantastic. I highly recommend it if you are a Gilmore Girls fan. We are moving on. Next up, I picked up Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I rated this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I was like this a lot more than I thought I was gonna like this. So this has very Sherlock-y vibes. It's got really, really great banter. This is about a girl who works, she's like in the 1800s, and so she's like a society lady, and she's supposed to be like treated a certain way, and she's supposed to act a certain way. So she's rebelling against that, and all she wants is to be in the medicine world and forensic science. And so what she really wants is she is secretly apprenticing for her uncle who dissects bodies and kind of works with the cops, and it's like so much yes. Like, I love the banter, I love the wit in this. The characters were like, I really loved Audrey Rose in this. I really love like forensic shows, and it felt like I was watching one of those. So if you guys have ever seen Bones, 1, go watch Bones because it's amazing. But 2, it's like the same feel because it's very focused on the forensic science. However, if you aren't big into science, you're not going to get lost. You're still going to understand it. But it's so fun and interesting. The reason why I docked this is because not all of the characters were fully rounded out. There is a very heavy focus on the science, and there's even like really cool pictures in here. Let me see if I can find some. So there's like really cool pictures in here at like some of the chapter headings, and because it is so focused on like the sciencey dissecting part, it made it a really great October read, but it made it kind of lacking in the full round out of the side characters that I thought we needed and I wanted to know more about. But however, I really liked her writing, so I definitely am planning on picking up her other book, which is Hunting Prince Dracula. Next up, I picked up Alex and Aida Volume 2. This one was so much better than the first one, and I really liked the first one. So Alex and Aida is all about a kind of a romance around a boy named Alex and his AI, Aida. And in this world, AIs are mainly like just supposed to be used for toys. They are kind of sex toys in this series, or also like personal assistants and things that you need it for. But there is a group in here that is kind of rebelling against the government, and it is awakening the AIs, so turning them on and making them have their own thoughts and feelings. And so that's kind of where this story is leading. This particular graphic novel volume has so much more meat in it than it did the first one, because the first one you're kind of explaining the situation, but it didn't have a lot of info. This one has a lot more meat in it, and the story really progresses. This cast has so good diversity and representation, in my opinion, and it has a great talk about sexuality, because the dolls are made kind of for sex toys in this, so there's a really good discussion on that in it. Plus the artwork is just like fantastic, and I really liked that, so I highly recommend checking out Alex and Aida if you haven't yet. And with that, I picked up Alex and Aida Volume 3 because my library had these. I did rate this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars because the ending is a bit confusing, but this one still has a lot of meat in the story, and again, the amazing artwork, and I definitely am planning on continuing with this series. Next up, I picked up Lysa and Her Monsters. I just picked it up on a whim. Guys, I loved this. I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. I can see this being like one of my all-time favorite contemporaries. It was so good. It's got the nerd culture in it, so it's like fangirl on crack. I'm planning on doing a full review on it, but it is so good because unlike Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, you kind of see the side of the writer, but you don't really get too far into the nerd world that she's in. We get a whole separate book, we get Carry On. This one, you get to see being in, like, you feel like you're inside the computer and you're in the chat rooms and you are looking at the comics. So the story features around a girl who writes this online comic, and it blows up into a giant fandom, and so people are commenting with her, and it is like a huge following. And she's just a high school girl who is keeping her identity secret, and then in the middle of the story we find out that a new kid at school follows her blog that she posts these graphic novels on, and he is actually really well known in the blog world too, from commenting on her graphic novels, and everything is so amazing. And I highly recommend, if you like nerd culture, you like graphic novels, if you like all of those things, you are going to love this book. I highly recommend checking it out. Go read it and then come back and tell me how fantastic it is, because I really loved it. Next up, I listened to on audiobook The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. I like this one so much more than I liked Percy Jackson. It's not even funny. Which I know is probably like an unpopular opinion. I rated this one a 3.75 out of 5 stars. This one, I think I just like this one so much more because they're older and more mature, and I felt that Percy Jackson was a little bit not my humor, and it's a little bit more mature, and this one's way more my style. So I'm excited to continue on with this story. This story is, if you've ever read the Percy Jackson, it's going back to Camp Half-Blood, but there's some interesting twists in here about the Roman gods, I believe it's the Roman gods. But I really enjoyed this one, and these are just fun to listen to, so I really highly recommend checking out the audiobooks if you guys are interested in this series and you haven't read them yet. And lastly, I picked up Eleanor Park. I also picked this one up on audiobook, and then I saw this one at my used bookstore, and I couldn't resist the exclusive cover edition, collector's edition. Guys, look inside. Like, look how beautiful that is. So I believe I rated this one a 3.25 or 3.5 stars out of 5. This is probably my least favorite Rainbow Rowell book that I have read, I think. I haven't read all of her books. I think the only one I haven't read is Landline, but I think this is one of my lesser favorites. I was going into this thinking Rainbow Rowell, contemporary, right? And everybody loves this one, like highly acclaimed loves this one. And I was not expecting how dark it is, and it is quite dark for a YA contemporary in my opinion. So this follows a girl, Eleanor, and a boy, Park, and it is kind of their meeting and their relationship growing, and it's talking a lot about family dynamics in here and kind of showing the difference in social classes. And this is kind of hard to explain without spoiling anything, because it's literally like just shows teenagers in their natural habitat but with family issues. So it talks about bullying, it talks about abuse, it talks about kind of sexual assault, or if you've read it, you know what I mean, but unwanted sexual advances, we'll put it that way. It's just very interesting, it's very dark. The reason why I didn't care for this book too much is because the main protagonist really irritated me, and she was so down on herself, which I get is very relatable for high schoolers, but she was so down. Even when she got compliments, she was so down, and she was so snarky, and it just was like, can you not? Like, that was the main reason why I docked this so bad, is because it was really irritating for a good majority of the book, and I wasn't expecting it to be as dark as I thought it was going to be, and I can see where the lines have made sense now that I finished the book, but I don't think that they were fully formed and fully developed throughout the book with how you got to the ending. So I don't think it was fully connected. That was another reason why I docked it. So my camera is now blinking, telling me that it's going to die. So I am going to wrap this up. That is all of the books that I read in the month of October. Stay tuned for my November TBR, and let me know down below what you guys read this month. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!